This lecture explains the value of each piece in chess and the concept of trading pieces and what you want to do based on how much each piece is worth. So to start off with, the pawn is worth 1 point, and the point system, it's a pretty good system when you're starting off. I mean, everyone uses it, especially grandmasters, but the higher up you go in chess, the more exceptions there are to the rules. But right now, you should stick pretty closely to the idea that the pawn is worth 1 point. And the knight and the bishop are each worth 3 points. So, for example, in a position like this, moving the bishop here would be a bad move. Let's switch this. Okay. Moving the bishop here would be a bad move because the pawn would capture. The pawn is worth 1 point, and now this pawn would capture back. And the bishop is worth 3 points. So if you were to add that up, you would notice that in this exchange of pieces, black lost 3 points and white lost 1 point. So technically white would be winning by 2 points. So when I was in middle school, actually, when we had our chess tournaments, sometimes when the bell rang and we were playing our game, we would add up the points, and if someone was even up 1 point, then they would get the victory in the tournament. But that's actually not a good idea. But I can give you other examples of exchanges. So So bishop to g5, now castles. Okay, now I wouldn't play this, but this is an example of an equal trade. Bishop takes knight, bishop takes bishop. Okay, the bishop is worth 3 points, and knight is worth 3 points. So that's an example of a trade you can make. Now, if we were to think about a different situation, and let's say this was a hypothetical position. Okay, so now we see white has won a pawn because black stopped defending it, so white captured it. But now black has a good move, which is pawn to c4, and now this bishop has nowhere to go. So now if bishop takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn. Now we have a position where, if we notice, there are 3 pawns that black has lost and 1 bishop that white has lost. So white lost 3 points and black lost 3 points. So this is an example of an equal trade that it's possible to do. And you could say that neither side is technically losing right now. Okay, now there's a lot of different ways to trade. For example, this was another example, equal trade bishop for a knight. But the point, and this is like really important when you play your first games of chess, is to understand who's winning and who's losing. You have to add up the pieces. So if there was like a random position and some pieces were missing and some pieces weren't missing, then you would have to count up the value of each piece to figure out who's winning and who's losing. Now, they say that grandmasters can look at a position and within 1 second know the value of the material count. And I think that's probably pretty accurate, that they can tell almost instantly who's winning and who's losing. These are like the basic rules of chess, so you have to learn these points before you learn the exceptions to the rules. But there's a few more examples I wanted to go through about trades. So okay, the bishop is worth 3, the pawn is worth 1, and the knight is worth 3. The rook is worth 5. So a position like this, whoops, this is a trap I love to do when I was first playing chess. Bishop takes pawn. Okay, now the rook is going to be captured. Okay, so the knight has to move. Because now after bishop takes, the queen takes it back, and so okay, now this queen is threatening this rook, so let's just block it with the knight. But so in this position, if we notice, black is doing pretty bad because black lost a pawn and a rook, and white only lost a bishop in the army. So we can add that up, and a bishop trading for a rook, a bishop's worth 3, a rook is worth 5, so that goes up 2 points, and white also got another pawn out of it, so white's winning by 3 points. So even winning by 1 point in some positions, it's really good, and it's kind of like almost grounds for just like seeing the game is completely over. Just being down one pawn in some positions can be enough to be losing the game. But being down 3 points in a game of chess, I would never play those out. Well, a lot of beginners will play those positions out. If I'm down 3 points, I'm just gonna resign because there's very often no chances. Now there's a different thing, which is sacrificing pieces. So sometimes a person will sacrifice a piece and get more points, and get an attack out of it, and that's much different. Whereas just losing material like a position like this is not worth it. Okay, so and lastly, the queen is worth 9. So, and I'll put that just in the comments to the video so you know. But so one example of a funny trap that I remember this game from when I think I was in 6th grade. I would just go home after school and wait a half an hour for AOL to load the chess, and then I would play on the internet because I had dial-up. So I remember I played this game online versus someone in my school, and he was probably the best player in the school. And I still remember this. So that would be like 10 years ago, because this was such a humiliating way to lose a game of chess in 3 moves. So I was playing black in this position, and I played queen to c6 because the knight was attacking the queen, and so I would not just want to allow this queen to be captured by the knight, so I have to move it. And now the bishop came here. And I'll get into pins in other lectures, but the point of this is that the queen cannot move because then the king would be captured, and the king is the most valuable piece. So in this position, I had to go capture, capture, and now I lost in this position 9 points to 3 points. The bishop was worth 3, I won 3 points, and the queen is worth 9. They won 9 points. So I was down 6 points. So I think I just resigned. I might have played it out, but so that's an example of a horrible trade. So you have to just know the concept of trades. And I'll just give one last example. Is trading a queen for, so let's say this queen would be traded for a rook, a knight, and a pawn. So the pawn is worth 1, the rook is worth 5, the knight is worth 3, the queen is worth 9. 1 plus 3 plus 5 is 9. Wait. Yeah, 1 plus 3 plus 5 is 9, and then so that would be one example of a trade that could happen in a game, and this is very common, and where both sides still have equal chances. So now the idea behind even being down 1 point is that in a game of chess, if you're down, let's say this happens, right, and white's up a pawn. One idea that white has is trade off all the pieces, and you'll be up a pawn, turn the pawn into a queen by promoting it to the 8th rank, and then you can win the game.